सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुविष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। Sixth chapter. Before entering into the sixth chapter, a little introduction about the sixth chapter. After Bhagavan speaking about the Karma Yoga and Gnana Yoga in the previous chapter, he insists on meditation. Even in the Vedas, it is told, a story is there where a rishi studies all the Rig Veda. Then he sees that his life is over. So then he prays God to extend his life, give some more time for him so that he can study one more portion of the Veda. Then he studies the Yajurveda. Then also his time is over. So he prays again and says, please extend my lifetime. And then again he reads the other portion of the Veda. When he has completed 3 portions, when he has actually completed 3 portions of the Vedas, then again his lifespan is over, and again he prays, Bhagavan, I have to read one more portion of the Veda, please extend my lifetime. So at that time, Bhagavan manifests and says, he comes in front of him and says, see, all these days what you have read is just like a fist of mud. It is nothing. So then the rishi understands and he starts meditating. So whatever we read, it's not enough. We have to inculcate those values in our lives. So here, all the Karma Yoga, when Karma Yoga was told, the Kamya Karma, we were doing the work because of desire, not of necessity. See, the desire and the necessity, the difference we should understand. Suppose I am hungry, I am in need of food, that is the necessity. But desire says, I want this food only, that is the desire. That is the difference between desire and necessity. So, many times we eat food because of our desire, not because of necessity. So, here Bhagavan says very nicely, all the work what we have done is Kamya Karma, out of desire, not because we have to do it, not because of the necessity. Kamya Karma, because I wanted something, that's why I was doing. From that Kamya Karma, he told how you should do this Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is must do duties. I must do for the good of others. I must do this to keep my mind tranquil. So these are the things, how we grew from Kamya Karma to Karma Yoga. From there, when we are doing the Karma Yoga, the mind is tranquil, but it has to concentrate. So for that concentration, Bhagavan said you do Upasana. Upasana is like do some Nama Japa, that is concentration. Now the mind is tranquil, now it can concentrate. At that time Bhagavan gives Gnana. after getting the gnana, knowledge of the Atman, we have to meditate. That is what God has told. We have to meditate. So unless we meditate, it doesn't complete. Our spiritual journey does not complete. So it is necessary that we all should meditate. So there was a question like this in the other class. See, I am doing my daily work. Is there anything other than that I should perform as karma? And I don't want to do japa and all. Is there anything? See, the result of karma yoga is tranquility of the mind. If I can achieve that in my daily practice or daily work, whatever I do, other things may not be required. Suppose my mind is tranquil and it can concentrate very easily, I need not do any japa because I have raised myself towards that tranquility and making my mind concentrated. I need not do any extra exercise for that. But for a person who really cannot bring his mind to tranquility and concentrate, he has to do some extra work. Like those karmas can be doing some puja, and upasana is doing some nama japa and all those things. So that is how we have to grow spiritually. That's what Bhagavan has told. In this Dhyana Yoga chapter, previous chapter was connecting between Karma Yoga and Dhyana Yoga meditation. Here Dhyana Yoga, Bhagavan practically explains how it should be, what should be the mindset and how he should do this Dhyana meditation. So let us look into this. Sir, you will be able to read the meaning, sir. Atha shashto dhyayaha dhyana yogaha Shri Bhagavanuvacha Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha Sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnirna chakriyaha.
He who performs his bounden duty without depending on the fruits of actions, he is a sannyasi and a yogi, not he who is without fire and without action.
See, anashrita karma phala. The karma yogi does the karma or the work, and he is not dependent on the karma phala. When we do kamya karma, I am always looking at the karma phala because I want that particular phala, I will be doing some work. But here, he is not dependent on the anashrita, is not dependent on the karma phala. And he is not expecting, as we told, karma phala tyaga. Karma phala tyaga means he doesn't desire that this should be the fruit of my action. So whatever fruit comes, he just accepts choicelessly. And he will be continuing to do his karma. Bhagavan says he is the real gnani, he is the real sannyasi. It doesn't mean that one who does all the karma. Karma in Vedas actually means doing this homa, havana and all those things. They are called Agni Karya. So those things are called as karma. Karma khanda mainly refers to all those things. Here Bhagavan says one who does all those things will not be a sannyasi. A sannyasi is one who does all the karma without expecting the phala. In the Karma Kanda it is told, even in our scriptures we have studied, see, Dasharatha did Putra Kameshti Yaga. He wanted children, so he does one yaga. And somebody wants to increase their lifetime, they do this Mrityunjaya Homa and all those things. Somebody wants health, they do Dhanvantari Homa and all. So like that, by doing those karmas itself, he doesn't become a sannyasi. So here more God emphasizes on the mental state. So when he doesn't depend upon the karma phala, his mind becomes tranquil. So anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. One who does the work not depending on the karma phala. Continuing. Yam sanyasamiti praho yogantam vidhi pandava nahya sanyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana.
O Pandava, please know, yoga to be that which is they call renunciation. No one verily becomes a yogi who has not renounced thoughts.
Yes. One who is a sannyasi, he himself, that itself is yoga also. Bhagavan says, one for which one we call as sannyasa, that itself is yoga. Because without renouncing the thoughts, this is very important. Maybe outside the world, I may stop doing the work for the reason I don't want any karma phala. But inside, I will be having that thought, yes, I should have got this result, like that. So if we renounce those thoughts only, we will be doing the yoga and the sannyasa. It is called as sannyasa. Sannyasa is not just an outer word. Like, when you wear orange clothes, you don't become sannyasis. Like, they have to renounce the thoughts also. So in simple things, when we usually say, Swamiji always would tell us, like, first thing when you look at the things is, two things which you have to renounce immediately is food and another one is clothes. How many sets of clothes we will have and how much we eat. So renouncing starts from food and clothes, he says. So it is first required to say no. Even if I say no outwardly, an inner wish will always be remaining inside me. I'll always be feeling, yes, I should have had that once, so what, I could have afforded, something like that. But here, though I don't want to buy things outside, but then inside a trigger is there, what that's called as rasa, which I feel that I should have had it, I want it, like that. Unless we renounce that, we cannot be sannyasis. One who renounces, that is called as sankalpa. Sankalpa is a thought, that's all, a strong thought. One who can renounce those thoughts, only then he will become a yogi. If he cannot renounce those thoughts, he cannot become a yogi. So meaning externally and internally, what you are doing outside must be there inside. So it's very simple, like all good karmas, whatever work you do, need not change our mental status, isn't it? Whatever we do outside, everything will not change our mental status. But if we change our mental status, the guna we call as, if we can change the status of our mind, the work we do outside will be like that only. If the state of the mind is sattvic, then the work we do outside is sattvic. So many times we will be doing the work outside looks like sattvic, but the mind may not be sattvic. It is not thinking good. We pretend to be good most of the times. So that is not accepted here. So Bhagavan says, if internally you are good, that is exhibited outside. But what is exhibited outside, immediately it will not. But the practice can be done like that. At least pretend to be good outside. Gradually that goodness comes to us. So here once we have to be, good within and good outside. That is the sankalpa we have to make. Doing outside everything good things and inside I have a different feeling, and no, that cannot be done. That is what Bhagavan is telling here. One who cannot renounce the thoughts, he cannot become a yogi. यम संन्यासमिति प्राहुः योगं तं विद्धि पांडव सह्य संन्यस्त संकल्पः योगी भवति कश्चन. So sankalpas have to be given up, sannyasa. Continuing. Arurukshormunir-yogam karma karanamuchyate yogarudhasya tasyaiva shamak karanamuchyate.
For a muni or sage who wishes to attune to yoga, action is said to be the means. For the same sage who has attuned to yoga, inaction is said to be the means.
For a yogi, karma is the sadhana. See here, Bhagavan Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. So he has to be very careful. He can't say, tell Arjuna, you renounce everything, go and do tapas. No. He has to answer, he has to talk to a king who is in the battlefield. So what he is telling, one who wants to become a yogi or one who wants to get that yoga, for him karma itself is the means. First he has to work. Because the tranquility of the mind is required. See, Arjuna is in the war field and he has to wage war, and he has a long story of 12, 13, 14 years where they had fought, and all that anger and everything is stored in his mind already. With all that in the battlefield, Bhagavan Krishna cannot tell him that you go and renounce now. First he says he has to purify the mind. So to purify the mind and tranquil the mind, he has to do karma. All of us from our birth, we have to do karma. So there is no one who can escape this karma. So after doing the karma, after he gets tranquility, that's what he says. Once the mind is tranquil, that means he is a yogi, then he can become sannyasi. Arurukshor munir yogam karma karana muchyate. Karana, it is the reason. The reason for working is to bring the mind to tranquility. After that, yoga rodhyasya tasyaiva shamak karana muchyate. After he brings the mind to tranquility, then akarma becomes the way. That means, see, if I have to climb a mountain, first 4 steps I have to climb. I can't just climb the 10th step the very first time. So here I have to do the karma. Bhagavan says, you do the karma, get your mind tranquil, purify, and then you can think of the next step, which is akarma. Akarma means then you need not do anything. The duty is in front of you now. You're in the war field. Complete your duty. And when your mind becomes tranquil, then you can go to the next step, which is called as gnana, for the gnana. Then you can be akarma. That is what called as shama. Shama karana muchyate. Shama means not doing anything. Not doing anything. After you complete your work, mind is tranquil, it is prepared for gnana yoga. Karma yoga is not required. That means you are overgrown the karma yoga. Continuing. So all these things are preparations for dhyana. The name of the chapter is Dhyana Yoga, and is still speaking of karma and sannyasa. What is this? Yes. Even in 24/7, our day, if you think, I will be so busy rajasic from morning till evening, and then in the evening, if anybody thinks I can sit and meditate for 20-25 minutes, it can't happen. Meditation is throughout the day, 24/7. If the mind is tranquil throughout the day, then I sit and meditate for 20 or 25 minutes or 10 minutes, then it happens, meditation happens. Or else it cannot. Somebody think it's not like going to a class or going to a coffee bar, having a cup of coffee and walk off. No. Meditation is not like that. Meditation is 24/7. Always the mind should be tranquil, only then we can meditate. That is why Bhagavan again and again he is telling, do your karma yoga, finish everything, then your mind is prepared for the meditation. So continuing, Bhagavan says, Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasvanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudhastadochyate.
When a man is not attached to sense objects or to actions, having renounced all thoughts, then he is said to have attuned to yoga.
Still the preparation for the meditation is going on. What is telling? Yada hinendriyarteshu na karmasvanusajjate. A person who is not disturbed, now he is taking the tranquility of the mind now. He says once the mind is tranquil and it can concentrate, he is just checking whether you will get disturbed or not. So he is saying, because in the meditation we have to draw all the 5 sense organs inward. So here he is telling, if a person does not get disturbed by the work or the sense organs driven outside towards any objects. See, all the 5 sense organs God has created my God in such a way that all the 5 sense organs, once we open our eyes, it will be running outside only towards the material life only. So Bhagavan says, if these sense organs are not in our control, if it is getting disturbed, suppose I see something, I get disturbed. I hear something, I get disturbed. I taste something, I get disturbed. That means the mind is still not ready. Okay, for our practice, let us think practically. We are not so, we are on the path. It is quite natural we get disturbed for something or the other. When we see something, when we hear something, when we taste something, for some reason or no reason, we get disturbed. So, for a sadhak, Swamiji would say, in the beginning, after reading all this, doing a lot of practice, still the mind gets disturbed. How this tranquility can be improved? Swamiji says, by listening to something, if I get disturbed, I should measure my time to come back. So suppose I get disturbed and within fraction of time I can come back, that is fine. Suppose I get disturbed and I am disturbed for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, and the whole day, I should practice tranquility of mind. That means I should, at least in this world, it's quite natural we get disturbed, because we have not grown to that level where we cannot get disturbed at all for anything, for the outside matter. Just watch a small news today, everybody gets disturbed. So here Bhagavan says, these 5 sense organs, when we are there and we are still sadhaks, so it always gets disturbed, but we should come back immediately. At least that should be our goal. Does not that don't get disturbed at all. Oh my God. No, we are not in that state of this one. So we get disturbed, but we should see that we come back quite fast. So here Bhagavan says, one who does not get disturbed at all, either by his work or these sense organs when they are driven outside towards the material world. And even the work. See, many times we would have done good things only with good intention. Suddenly we don't know, when somebody speaks something, we will start just questioning ourselves, was it right what I did? We would have done that already with a good intention, but somebody says something, or for myself, I start thinking whether I did it correctly or not. Why did I do it? Some confusions will be there. So when I do the work, also I should see that my mind is tranquil. So to see that the work what I do is, my mind remains tranquil after the work I do, initially I should be prepared. I should think that I am doing good thing and I should keep my mind in tranquility and then do the work. That is why in the previous shloka we said whatever we do outside may not give the inside tranquility. But if there is tranquility inside, the goodness inside, the sattvic thing inside, outside whatever work we do will be very good. So now these sense organs should be in our control, and I should not repent for the work what I have done. And then I should give up all my desire thoughts. All the desires should be given up. See, giving up these desires also is not easy. These desires, they say once they pop up, and if it is very strong, we should complete it. Only then it will go. It will be pushed out. Nobody can push out the desire like that, because they are all strong imprints from the vasanas which are there. They are the strong imprints on the mind, and once it pops up as a desire, we should fulfill that desire and finish it off. If we suppress it again, it will be popping up with a very deep thought. So Bhagavan says once all those desires are cleared and there are no thoughts coming up, so there are no desires left again. So he has given up all the desires, and now his action is not desire prompted action, it is necessity prompted action. He has to do it, that's why he is doing. It is not desire prompted. So whatever work he is doing, because of his duty, his responsibility, he is doing those work. So such a person he'll become yoga rudasta. So he will become an yogi, and he is fit to meditate, that type of person. But to reach this one, how should I? This is a very important shloka in the whole of Bhagavad Gita, which we have to memorize, I say, and always think about this again and again and again. Uttaredatmanatmanam natmanamavasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhu atmaiva ripuratmanah.
Let a man lift himself by his own self alone, and let him not lower himself, for this self alone is the friend of oneself, and this self is the enemy of oneself.
Yes, here self means mind actually. Okay. Bhagavan clearly says, Uddharedatmanatmanam. Nobody can lift you. You have to lift yourself. Now government also has told the same thing. You take care of yourself. We can't do anything. So Bhagavan also says, Uddhare Atmana Atmanam. You have to grow. Nobody can lift you up. It's very true, see. Because the mind is in my control, intellect is in my control, then how can somebody control my mind and intellect? It's not possible. That's why God says, Uddhare Atmana Atmanam. You yourself has to lift yourself. Nobody can do it. It's I who decide. So I have to lift myself upwards, or I can what? Go down and into the, do even, I have a choice of doing good or bad. That is the version here is telling. So if you want to grow, do good things. If you want to fall, you know what you should do. So Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet. And he is only the reason for the fall also. That is why a man's mind, a person's mind, is a friend to him and also an enemy. How beautifully Bhagavan says. Self means mind here, intellect. So that is a friend to a man and also an enemy. When is it a friend? When my mind listens to me, it is my friend. When my mind doesn't listen to me, it is an enemy. Uddhared Atmanam, when we say the virtues, whatever we have to follow, we should think that we will follow to the 100%. So our level of keeping the value should be very high. See, there is always a difference between the ideal me and the actual me. Actual me and ideal me means I think of myself, and when I project about myself in front of somebody, it's very different. I project that I am very good and I think I am doing everything good like that, but actually I am not so good as I speak of myself. That is the difference between the actual me and the ideal me. Actually, I want to be that ideal me. Ideal me is here, actual me is little lesser than that. I want to be that ideal me, I think that, but actually I am not that. That's what we experience. If we just think about that, we will know that we are not that ideal me, we are still in that. We should reach that ideal me. So for reaching that, becoming that ideal me, what is that is, all the values I think of should be at a very high level. So when I try to at least go to that level, I'll be little low. Like, they say, you try to hit the sky, you will hit the mountain top. At least you will hit the mountain top. Just as we tell the students in the school, college studying, you aim at 100, you might get 99. It's like that. So whatever, suppose I have taken truth as my value, 100% truth I should aim at. Truth is not by percentage. 1% lie, I say 99% truth. No, that is lie only. Truth value is 100% only always. So my values, when I put them, should be at a very great height. So at least I will be here. So always. That is how Uddhare Atmana Atmana. So anything, everyday practice, everyday how I talk, how I behave, how I do my karma, everything should be perfect. So if I keep that in my mind, like I won't get, I'll always be happy, I'll always be inspired, I'll always be good, I'll be inspiring everybody. That should be at the, highest level. It's not like, okay, 1 or 2 hours I'll be okay, then no, at the highest level. When I try doing that, I'll be at least 1. Suppose I think I will not be angry at all, I'll always be happy. If that is my this one, 24/7 into 365, I must be that. That should be my goal. And I should keep improving towards that. That is how Uddhare Atmanam Atmanam. That means I am trying to lift myself. So when my goals are very high, I try to reach that goal again and again, and I'll be at a little better level. Suppose my goals are very low. Okay, I think even if I tell 10 lies, it is okay. If I keep my goal itself or the value of this one itself low, I will be falling even down. So if I keep my goal even down, it goes even down. So always our values, thoughts should be very high, kept very high. Then at least we will try to reach that, but still we will not reach it, because the ideal me and the actual me is different. I think that I can do it, but many times I fall a little low. So always my guru would say, keep your goals very high so that you will be able to reach that. So once we keep the goals high, then we can try to lift ourselves up. But if our goals are very low, we keep falling. So both are in our hands. That is why Bhagavan says, self is your friend and also an enemy. Suppose I have kept my goal like this. Simple goal, like I will get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Every day. If mind cooperates, every day I will get up at 6 o'clock. That's how mind becomes my friend. Suppose one day it says, no, today is Sunday, okay, you can sleep till 8 o'clock. When we keep all these values, Swamiji would say, never compromise even for Sunday. Because, see, sun rises every day. Why do you want to take rest one day? So, in the spiritual sadhana, there is no rest like thing. So always we have to work on our upliftment. So the mind is always trained to accept that height of the goal and reach that goal itself. So when my mind accepts that I can get up at 6 o'clock, I'll get up. So that is how it becomes my friend. If it says no and it deviates my action, then it is my enemy. So the same mind is my friend, the same mind is my enemy. So how I am going to convert that mind to listen to me is in my hands. That is why God again, time and again, Bhagavan says, Uddare Atmana Atmanam. So nobody can lift us. It is we who have to lift ourselves above. It is we who have to work on our mind. It is we who have to practice everything. Initially I say all practices are done with willpower only. I force myself to do. Yes, I have thought I must get up. Maybe in the mind I'll be having that rasa, as I tell you. Maybe I could have slept for 1 more hour. That will be there. Forcefully I get up first day. Second day I get up. Third day I get up. Then it becomes very normal. Without an alarm I can get up. So everything is practiced like that. First with the willpower and then with the knowledge. So I should never let myself down. For that I have to keep my mind intact so that it listens to me and it will always be my friend. Okay. Uddare Atmana Atmanam. This is a very, very important shloka in Bhagavad Gita. We might think reading Bhagavad Gita, I will know Bhagavad Gita can't do anything, Bhagavan Krishna cannot do anything. He can give us the knowledge, but I have to improve myself. So we'll stop there and continue in the next class.